One of the most common questions people ask when buying auto insurance is, can I just get full coverage? It sounds simple. It sounds complete. It sounds like everything is protected. But here's the problem. Full coverage is one of the most misunderstood phrases in the insurance industry. Many people say they have full coverage, but they don't actually know what coverages are included. Some people think full coverage means every type of damage is covered. Some people think liability protects their own vehicle. Some people think APD and liability are the same thing. And some people only find out the difference when they actually need to use the policy. So in today's video, we're going to break this down clearly. We're going to explain what liability insurance is, what APD means, what collision and comprehensive coverage do, and why the term full coverage can be misleading. We'll also discuss limits, deductibles, lenders, policy reviews, and the common mistakes people make when choosing auto insurance. And make sure you watch until the end because we'll explain the better question you should ask instead of saying, "Do I have full coverage?" This video is designed to help you understand your auto policy before you need it. Let's get started. Before we compare APD, liability, and full coverage, we need to understand one important idea. Auto insurance is not just one thing. It is a combination of different coverages. Each coverage has a different job. Some coverages protect other people. Some coverages protect your vehicle. Some coverages protect you from lawsuits. Some coverages help with medical expenses. Some coverages are required by law. And some are optional depending on your situation, your vehicle, your lender, and your risk tolerance. This is why two people can both say they have auto insurance, but their policies can look completely different. One person may only have liability. Another person may have liability plus collision. Another may have liability, collision, comprehensive, uninsured motorist, rental reimbursement, roadside assistance, and higher limits. So when someone says, "I have insurance," that does not automatically tell you what they actually have. The real question is, what coverages are included? What are the limits? What are the deductibles? What is excluded? And what does the policy actually protect? That is the foundation of understanding auto insurance. What is liability insurance? Let's start with liability insurance. Liability insurance is one of the most important parts of an auto policy. In simple terms, liability insurance is designed to help protect you when you are legally responsible for causing injury or damage to someone else. The key phrase is someone else. Liability insurance is not mainly designed to repair your own vehicle. It is designed to respond when you are responsible for damages to another party. Liability usually has two major parts: bodily injury liability and property damage liability. Bodily injury liability may help cover costs related to injuries suffered by another person if you are legally responsible. This can include medical expenses, legal defense, and covered damages, depending on the policy and situation. Property damage liability may help cover damage you cause to someone else's property. That could be another vehicle, a fence, a building, equipment, or other property. So if you want a simple way to remember liability, remember this. Liability protects other people from damage you cause. It is about your financial responsibility to others. Why liability insurance exists? Liability insurance exists because accidents can create financial responsibility. Many states require drivers to carry liability coverage because drivers need a way to show financial responsibility on the road. Without liability insurance, a person who causes damage may have to pay for everything directly out of pocket. That can create major financial problems. This is why liability coverage is usually the starting point of an auto policy. But here is where people make a big mistake. They assume that because they have liability coverage, they are fully protected. That is not always true. Liability has limits. A limit is the maximum amount the insurance company will pay for a covered claim. Once that limit is reached, anything above that may become your personal responsibility. So the question is not only, do I have liability? The better question is, how much liability coverage do I have? Why liability limits matter. Liability limits are extremely important. A policy with low limits may satisfy legal requirements, but it may not be enough for a serious situation. This is the difference between being legally insured and being financially protected. Minimum limits are usually designed to meet the law. They are not always designed to protect your full financial life. That is why insurance professionals often talk about choosing limits based on your real exposure, your income, your savings, your assets, your future earnings, your business exposure if applicable. The more you have to protect, the more important your liability limits become. A low monthly premium can look attractive, but if the liability limit is too low, you may be carrying more risk than you realize. This is why the cheapest policy is not always the best policy. Sometimes a cheap policy is cheap because it transfers more risk back to you. What liability does not cover. Now let's make this very clear. Liability insurance generally does not cover damage to your own vehicle. That is one of the biggest misunderstandings in auto insurance. If someone only has liability coverage, that usually means they have coverage for damage they cause to others, but not necessarily coverage for their own vehicle damage. So if your goal is to protect your own vehicle, liability alone may not be enough. This is where APD comes in. APD stands for Auto Physical Damage, and that is what we're going to cover next. What is APD? Now let's talk about APD, because this is the part many people confuse with full coverage. APD stands for Auto Physical Damage. This coverage focuses on physical damage to your own vehicle. That is the biggest difference between liability and APD. Liability is mainly about damage you cause to others. APD is mainly about damage to your vehicle. APD is especially important when the vehicle has value, when the vehicle is financed, when the vehicle is leased, or when you cannot comfortably afford to repair or replace the vehicle yourself. Auto physical damage usually includes two major parts: collision coverage and comprehensive coverage. These two coverages work differently, so let's separate them clearly. What is collision coverage? Collision coverage generally applies when your vehicle is damaged because of a collision. That can mean your vehicle collides with another vehicle. It can also mean your vehicle collides with an object. The important idea is that collision coverage is connected to impact. Collision is about physical damage to your vehicle from a covered collision event, subject to your policy terms, conditions, and deductible. This is the coverage many people think about when they imagine their own vehicle being repaired after a crash. But again, collision is not the same as liability. Liability deals with damage you cause to others. Collision deals with damage to your own vehicle from a covered collision. That difference is extremely important. What is comprehensive coverage? Now, let's talk about comprehensive coverage. Comprehensive coverage generally applies to non-collision damage to your vehicle. Think of comprehensive as protection for certain events that happen to your vehicle that are not caused by a collision. This may include theft, fire, vandalism, hail, falling objects, certain weather-related damage, and animal-related damage, depending on the policy. Comprehensive is sometimes called other than collision coverage. That phrase helps explain the difference. Collision is for collision-related damage. Comprehensive is generally for certain non-collision events. Together, collision and comprehensive make up the foundation of APD. So when someone says they have APD, they are usually talking about coverage that protects the vehicle itself through collision and comprehensive coverage. APD is not the same as liability. This is one of the most important lessons in the entire video. APD and liability are not the same thing. They protect different risks. Liability protects other people from damage you cause. APD protects your vehicle from covered physical damage. Liability usually has limits. APD usually has a deductible. Liability is often required by law. APD may be required by a lender if your vehicle is financed or leased. This is why you cannot simply ask, "Do I have insurance?" You need to know which coverage you have. A person with liability only may have very different protection compared to a person with liability plus APD. What is a deductible? Now let's talk about deductibles. A deductible is the amount you agree to pay out of pocket before your insurance pays for a covered APD claim. For example, if your collision deductible is $1,000, that means you are responsible for the first $1,000 of a covered collision loss. Deductibles are commonly connected to APD coverages, like collision and comprehensive. Liability usually does not work the same way as APD deductibles. A deductible is one of the tools used to balance cost and risk. A lower deductible usually means you pay less out of pocket when a covered claim happens, but your premium may be higher. A higher deductible usually means you accept more out-of-pocket responsibility, but your premium may be lower. So, choosing a deductible is not just about saving money, it is about deciding how much risk you are comfortable carrying yourself. APD does not cover everything. Even APD has limits and exclusions. Collision and comprehensive do not mean everything related to your vehicle is automatically covered. Wear and tear is usually not covered. Mechanical breakdown is usually not covered under a standard auto policy. Routine maintenance is not covered. Intentional damage may be excluded. Business use may require special coverage. Certain drivers may be excluded depending on the policy. Policy wording matters. This is why understanding APD is just as important as purchasing it. APD is valuable coverage, but it is not unlimited coverage. So now we understand the core difference. Liability protects others. APD protects your own vehicle through collision and comprehensive coverage. But where does full coverage fit into all of this? That is what we'll explain next. What does full coverage really mean? Now, let's talk about the phrase everyone uses, full coverage. Here is the truth. Full coverage is not an official policy name. It is not a single coverage. It is not a guarantee that every possible loss is covered. It is a common phrase people use to describe an auto policy that usually includes liability, collision, and comprehensive coverage. But the problem is that full coverage can mean different things to different people. One person may think full coverage means liability plus APD. Another person may think it includes rental reimbursement. Another may think it includes roadside assistance. Another may think it includes uninsured motorist coverage. Another may think it covers everything. That is where confusion begins. The phrase sounds complete, but insurance is based on specific coverages, limits, deductibles, exclusions, and conditions. So instead of asking, "Do I have full coverage?" a better question is, what exact coverages are included in my policy? How to choose the right coverage. Choosing the right auto insurance is not about copying someone else's policy. It is about understanding your own needs. Start with liability. Ask yourself, are my liability limits enough to protect my income, savings, assets, and future earnings? Then look at your vehicle. Is it financed? Is it leased? Is it paid off? How much is it worth? Could you afford to repair or replace it yourself? Then review APD. Do you need collision? Do you need comprehensive? What deductible makes sense? Could you comfortably pay that deductible if something happened? Then review additional coverages. Do you need uninsured motorist coverage? Do you need rental reimbursement? Do you need roadside assistance? Do you use the vehicle for business? Are all drivers properly listed? These questions help build a policy around your real situation. What to review every year. Your auto insurance should not be a set-it-and-forget-it decision. Review your policy at least once a year. During the review, check your liability limits. Check your deductibles. Check whether you still need APD. Check your vehicle information. Check your listed drivers. Check your usage. Check your exclusions. Check your lender information. Check your discounts. Many people overpay because their policy is outdated. Others are underprotected because their coverage has not kept up with their life. A simple annual review can help identify gaps, outdated limits, or coverages that no longer fit. The biggest lesson from this video is simple. Liability, APD, and full coverage are not the same thing. Liability protects others from damage you cause. APD helps protect your own vehicle through collision and comprehensive coverage. And full coverage is not an official insurance product. It is a nickname people use for a combination of coverages, but it does not mean everything is covered. The more you understand your policy, the better decisions you can make. Insurance should not be confusing. It should be clear enough that you know what you have, what you do not have, and what questions to ask before something happens. Let's quickly recap what we covered today. We explained that auto insurance is not one coverage. It is a package of different coverages. We discussed liability insurance and how it is designed to protect others from damage you cause. We explained that liability limits matter because they determine how much protection you actually have. We discussed APD, or auto physical damage, and how it helps protect your own vehicle. We explained the difference between collision and comprehensive coverage. We talked about deductibles and how they affect your out-of-pocket responsibility and premium. We discussed why lenders often require APD when a vehicle is financed or leased. And finally, we explained why full coverage is not a real policy name and why it can create confusion. The key takeaway is this. Don't just ask for full coverage. Ask what your policy actually covers. Like, subscribe, and share. Before we wrap up, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insurance education from Insurance Shark. Our goal is to make insurance easier to understand, so you can make informed decisions with confidence. And if you know someone who is shopping for auto insurance, recently bought a vehicle, or always says they have full coverage, share this video with them. It may help them understand their policy before they actually need to use it.